The political landscape is on the edge of a precipice, and it's time for those in power to stop pretending that the world's problems are mere inconveniences they can swat away. Keir Starmer's recent cabinet away day might have been billed as a time to take stock and plan, but let's be clear, it's a desperate attempt to reassert control before the world leaves Britain behind. Starmer's speech was less about inspiring change and more about making an urgent, unambiguous demand for progress, at any cost. The message was loud and clear. Either the government becomes a disruptor of the status quo, or it risks being swept away by global currents. Right now, no one seems to be leading the charge on the disruption front. The question is whether Starmer's team can harness this moment or falter under the mounting pressures of a stagnating economy, mounting international uncertainty, and a populace growing increasingly disillusioned with political rhetoric. To be blunt, if Keir Starmer wants to claim victory, he must stop playing it safe and start confronting the harsh realities of Britain's deteriorating situation head-on. He's not alone in this battle. The stakes are far too high for dithering. Yet, in an era dominated by populist rhetoric and finger-pointing, Starmer's words about global insecurity feeding into domestic instability are crucial. The working-class families, the very backbone of the country, can no longer afford to wait for the government's promises to materialize as hollow words. They are tired of hearing about the idealized recovery just over the horizon. It's time for a fundamental reordering, for a government that speaks with clarity and acts with force. This isn't just about economic growth, but about the essence of leadership itself. And make no mistake, Britain needs leadership now more than ever. The recent Bank of England decision to slash growth forecasts is not just a technical hiccup, it's a glaring warning. The idea that the government can ride out global economic turmoil while the citizens tighten their belts and brace for higher inflation is utterly untenable. Starmer's failure to address this dynamic with immediate and resolute policies will not only undermine his political credibility but will likely jeopardize any semblance of recovery that may have been possible. The public cannot afford to be distracted by surface-level gestures or quick fixes. What Britain needs is a ruthless, unwavering commitment to altering the economic trajectory, one that leaves no room for empty promises or complacency. Starmer's warning that ministers must choose between being the disruptors or the disrupted hits the nail on the head. But let's not kid ourselves. This isn't just an opportunity for the government to be bold, it's a stark necessity. The wave of populism sweeping through Western politics isn't something to be dismissed as a passing phase. It represents the growing frustration of ordinary citizens who feel betrayed by an establishment that has failed them time and time again. This wave of anger is not an abstract notion. It's the very energy that has fueled the rise of figures like Nigel Farage and Kemi Badenoch. Yet, Starmer's swipe at these figures offers little in terms of a concrete challenge to their popularity. While calling out right-wing populists for their grievances is easy, the real task is to present an alternative that resonates with the same disgruntled masses. At this point, it's not about proving the right-wing populists wrong. It's about proving that a progressive agenda can deliver where the establishment has failed. Here's the truth. Labour's promises on economic renewal and growth have not lived up to the hype. Public service failures, inflationary pressure, and stagnation have steadily worn down the will of the British people. The idea that ministers can just think like Alan Sugar and deliver prosperity with a few motivational words is an insult to anyone paying attention. It's a hollow tactic that serves to distract from the real problems at hand. Real growth comes from investing in people, from creating a society where work and life align. Starmer must rally his cabinet around these principles and start crafting a vision that focuses on equitable growth, job security, and economic expansion in a globalized world that is not waiting for Britain to catch up. Moreover, the issue of migration cannot be avoided. It's a delicate subject, but one that needs to be addressed with nuance and practicality. Starmer's comments about immigration have always been ambiguous, hovering between a commitment to fairness and a desire to appease the right-wing factions of the electorate. This does not mean abandoning the principles of compassion, but it does demand a stronger stance on ensuring that immigration policy works for all British people, not just those who have the political capital to manipulate it for their own ends. A country's ability to manage immigration effectively is intrinsically linked to its ability to maintain control over its own economic destiny. The sooner Labour faces this reality and stops hesitating, the sooner it can begin to craft a policy that is not only humane but economically sustainable. The world is speeding up, as Starmer so rightly observed. Global events are shifting tectonic plates, and Britain stands at a crossroads. There is no time for delay, no space for wishful thinking. The Labour Party must wake up to the reality that, if it is to lead Britain into the future, it must be bold, unapologetic, and decisive in its actions. The Cabinet's time in Lancaster House may have been a wake-up call, but it's far too early to tell if Starmer will answer it with the urgency and clarity needed. What is clear, however, is this: the time for incrementalism and political posturing is over. Britain cannot afford to wait for another generation of political elites to figure it out. It needs action now, real, unflinching action that can only come from leaders willing to embrace their responsibility without hesitation. Anything less would be catastrophic.